Hi, everybody. Mary Long here with Plein Painter Chicago. And tonight we are starting a new program, our PAPC Sharpening Your Plein Air Tools with Steve Puttrich. And Steve, thanks so much for doing this for us. You know, I know you're taking a lot of time. You're taking a lot of time to do the planning for this and getting organized. So we very much appreciate it. So I will just hand this over to you.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mary. Well, thanks for everybody coming in. I think we'll have more signing on as we get going. But I do want to share my screen. My goal is to get through here within an hour. And we have about 25 artists we want to showcase the work that you've done over the last month. And tonight we're focusing in on composition and design. Really hitting hard the skill of selection. And it's a great skill to have in that when you first see a scene, you want to build that structure of that scene to have a winning painting, a successful painting. And selection of what to put in, what to put out, not to put in, what to leave out, and what to enhance, subdue is really a skill everyone should really grow. I often say to my students, if you have $100 to invest in developing your painting skills from A to Z, spend $80 on learning good composition and good design skills. The other 20% can be spent on everything else. The other $20. So that's why design and composition is so important. Everything else gets put onto that. And the strength of the painting, the success of that painting is really hinged on a good composition and a strong design. With that said, let me start up again. I want to go over Tom went over into the Art Institute and saw the Monet exhibit and encouraged everybody to do that. I've yet to do that. It's on my schedule. But what Tom did was, thanks Tom for doing this, was he sketched in the layouts and the compositions that he saw within Monet's paintings. This is a great example of deconstructing art for the sake of learning the choices that Monet used, the selections that Monet used in building his compositions. You could see a really strong dark over here on this one. Good L-shaped composition right in here. Very soft pastoral scenes down in here. It's just a really good exercise. So thanks Tom for that. I do want to introduce you to two artists. James Peck is a digital artist. He also does, traditional material mediums. He's a scene designer for the movie business or illustration. And just look at his grayscale black and whites. Each one is so dynamic, so strong. You could see the tunnel composition in this one. You see a nice L shape where it's diagonal in this one. But he really captures the background, middle ground, and foreground in really every one of these. And he's created these environments that you just want to explore and live in. And this is the power of a good composition and using good design skills to create that environment. So look him up. Also look up Craig Mullins. He's under goodbrush.com. Craig is a
you can have the big picture before you get into the detail. The one thing that you shouldn't do, I absolutely against that technique. You just start with the left eye and do the detail, and then then do the nose, and then spread outwards. So you don't know how you end up working. You know, you're basically not working with the entire figure. So that is, to me, great. You can have a lot of fun, but you're not working with the entire picture.
And your speaker's on. There you go.
okay.
Let me share the screen and you know.
Find the person.
I don't know who's talking, but it looks like a good lesson. Okay, so Craig is another designer. Look him up. I grayscaled his colors out. You can see the strength of his designs just in the grayscale, and then here these are the color examples of those same paintings. But let's go on into the art. We've got 25 artists. This is in no particular order. If you've done multiple scenes, I only took one or two of those scenes, and I'll reference back to the Facebook collection for other ideas. But thank you everybody for doing the work.
Steve, before you get started, sorry to interrupt, could you give Lori make her a co-host?
Yes.
And that way she can listen for the audio.
Okay. Lori is now co-host. Okay, Kuhn. This is in no particular order, like I said. Kuhn did 2 sets of black and whites. He used the existing photo here that I posted and 2 photos actually. Good job on this, Kuhn. I like your notes. Notes are really important for me anyway. Some folks like putting notes down just to remember. I would encourage you to take your time in studying these sketches. Really look for those lights, mediums, and dark shapes, and use that time to really build the scene. These look quickly done, which is fine, but spend a little more time in really developing those shapes. But other than that, great start.
Thank you.
Marcy's done 2 scenes. This is more like what I was looking for or encouraging folks to do. Really look at the light, medium, and dark shapes, and she's really using some really unique shapes in here, flattening out the curve, the diagonal in this one. Can you guys see this cursor here?
Yes.
Okay. This is a nice, gentle scene here. Look at how you're really connecting up these shapes. I like looking at the scene really tiny and even smaller than this, if you can get them smaller. It really eliminates the detail and really gives you the big shapes to look at. And really it's this big shape here, a small sliver of light, and then a small flat piece on the bottom. And you pretty much nailed it on this one here, and this one. Good job, Marcy. Marcia. This was a scene, my wife took this in Italy when she went with painters group last year in Italy. Beautiful little scene of a fishing boat and a little house. This looks like the scene as is. Looks like you're playing with different textures and colors. Kind of experimenting. I didn't know which scene this one was, but I like where it's going. Keep going this way, Marcia. And spend a little more time really focusing on the value of all of this back in here. Even though you see in the highlights of those trees way on the hillside, it's a dark shape compared to the light that's on the boat and on the house. Okay, Anne did a good job on these. I love this vertical piece here, Anne. Really focusing in on the bridge tower as the central focal point. And, it's all working well. I like the square composition too. That one works well. But this one really focuses in on the reflections, which is real powerful. On this one. Try to find your gray scales as light, medium, and dark. Separate those three. Your shapes are going to be more organized. Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Lori, good job on this one, Lori. I love it's just a big cross composition is what it is. Nice strong horizontal with some vertical, and then the shadows complete the other end of the cross. And I love how you've just no-tan this thing out, where it's just light, medium, and dark. This is a really good composition down in here. This one went a little bit big. I'm not sure on the sizes of these, but just by the pencil size of the pencil sketches. I think this is a good note for everybody. Go small. Go, 2 by 3, maybe 2 inches by 3 inches.
It was, sorry, I was just saying it was small. It's just the way I photographed it.
Oh, okay.
They're all the same size.
Okay. Okay. Then I think you're well on your way to really getting a strong dynamic composition. Use the footprints in the snow as, again, line elements that lead. You don't have to copy these exactly. They're well placed, but watch this parallel. This line with this line, bring that maybe in a little more diagonal and then flatten that line out.
Question, Steve. Do you think the focal point would be where those two lines converge at that tree, right? That's with the lighter trees behind, the ice trees behind.
The focal point is going to be right in here. Draw.
I thought I want the foreground, but I don't know if I want as much foreground as is in the picture. You know what I mean? It's in the photo.
That's the focal point right there. Yeah, because this line is coming in here. This line is coming in here. You've got all these lines, the tree lines, all converging into that one spot. So yeah, so keep that in mind if this is your focal point, and we'll talk about it at the last one, exaggeration, but I may bring that up later on tonight about centers of interest. If that's your center of interest, which it should be, just keep that in mind. Everything else can diminish, even the sun, can go away. Just treating that nice and soft edges. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Good job, Laura. Deborah. We've got two Deborahs. This is Deborah Paige Jackson. Again, the same boat scene. I like what you're doing here, Deborah. It's you followed the directions exactly, whereas you drew the main scene out, two different mediums, looks like pencil and marker. But then you went in and just detailed out certain areas. Here it's just the house. Here it's the people on the shoreline. Showed you some interesting compositions. And this is the whole selection process that I really want you guys to grow in. You're not tied to this full scene. You could just do the boat if you want. Just do the house, like she wants to be down here. She's just finding interesting compositions. And have that freedom. Know that you have that freedom to really pick and choose. I think one artist flipped it and just did, oh, Abby, here. She flipped the scene totally. So she wanted it going the other way, which is totally fine. So she did 4 scenes. I think Abby's coming in late today. But again, good composition here in L shape, kind of almost a C. Good leading lines of light coming in on that drawing right there. This is an intriguing little umbrella scene up in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. Good unifying shapes for the building in shadow. She could even darken in this wall just to let that umbrella stand out even more. And certainly give a darker or middle value to that sky and the grass. And then this is an interesting photograph of just multiple levels of distance. You did a nice job on that one too. Virginia, you nailed this one, Virginia. Really dynamic scene. This is a good example of circle or circular or tunnel composition. Good, strong leading lines, kind of just brings us right to the center of interest, which are these two people. I like your thinking in just zooming in on the people, trying different things, putting that vanishing point in different spots within your scene. This offers a nice little scene right in here. And then I think this one's painted, correct?
Yes, that was an attempt. And my problem is I really like the top left photo with that big design shape of the trellis, but
Yes.
I was wondering if I should be zooming in more. And so I did a painting of it zoomed in, and then I made it black and white. And I was hoping you could encourage me one way or the other.
This is beautiful. I love this. Treat this as, right now you've nailed the composition down. So this is a working composition. The center of interest is going to be the people, but the warmth is in the light right in here. And everything else is going to be cooler and grayer.
And so the lower left sketch that says 8 by 10 on the top would,
Down here.
yeah, where you're more pulled out, that would, I mean,
That would be, that's almost too pulled out. That's like the photograph itself.
okay.
I love this
That's
one.
so helpful. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah. And I love how you simplified the shadow going right up into the trellis structure. It's unimportant. You know, this structure going down into the shadow needs to be simplified, and it's a perfect example of unifying the sameness in your values. The strength of this to this is just a temperature change, not a value change. And when you go to color, make sure this is a temperature change. And this will read so strong. You'll get some warmth in this area, and then everything else can be nice and cool.
Ah, that's so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Good job. Julie, great job on this one, Julie. This is also a photograph up in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. Just looking at the back doors of buildings. Very interesting light, shapes, and temperature. Look at the reflected light in here. We'll talk about that at the end of tonight. That's for next month's assignment. But this would be a good photograph example to paint with for next month. But I love your compositions. You're working out different things, zooming in on different elements of the photograph, trying different things, putting the vanishing point off to the edge, putting the vanishing point off, even off the paper, and just zooming in on little elements. This is the work that I want you guys to do as far as having that freedom to select different elements. You don't have to be tied to completing and copying that painting. So good job, Julie. I hope you learned stuff on this one. Tom, a couple of things. I love the painting. I love how you did it. Value-wise, I'm not going to go into much painting, but I love the composition. You've got the big, strong shapes on the base, nice slivers of light, and then a really good painting of a tree in fall light. Looks like near sunset. The sketches need work. Take a little more time in really honing it, and maybe you don't need this because the painting works, but I'd really like you to try to spend a little more time on the sketches, because I think it's really going to pay huge dividends. If all you spend is 5 minutes on each sketch before you settle in on a composition, you'll be surprised at the work those 3 little sketches can give you.
Yeah, I think I need to go and just sketch, because when I get out there and the light is changing so fast, I feel such a urgency to capture it, and I know that sketching these things is it would probably help me more than I realized just to compose. But yeah, this one, I think I didn't really understand the assignment, and I studied it enough to get a sense of how I wanted to compose it. But yeah.
And on this one, instead of the whole painting, I love this.
Yeah.
That scene there, or just just a zoomed in on that one, and just try it doing it little sketches of that, looking for the light, medium, and dark shapes.
Yeah.
And You'll get there.
Thanks.
Got one more. Oh, wow. All right, Tom, good job. Gene. Gene out. Just pick this one up for you, Gene, on this one. This is a really good, beautiful, hard composition to work out. It's because of all the color and the variety of color, you get really confused with when you're just doing grayscale. So you got to be so disciplined in looking for those light shapes up at the top. Everything else is medium, and the dark shapes are in the trees. And I think you nailed that. Watch these lights down in here. They're not the same value as the sky. Just leave the sky as that light. Everything else is middle value, and then the darks are in the trees. But I think you nailed it. The painting is beautiful. Good color, good brushwork, everything on that. But I'm more interested in this value. And try to do little sketches of different alternative shapes, zoomed in on a few trees. And you'll find, if you do that, you'll find surprisingly little gems of paintings that are within these scenes, if you give yourself enough time. Howard, good job on this one, Howard. I've seen you're doing a little more work on the sketches. This is good. I would encourage you to spend a little more time in doing those pencil sketches. But I love this composition. Look at this big C shape right in here. And you nailed it in the paintings.
I'm shocked.
Good job.
Thank you.
Also, this is a natural portrait painting, portrait orientation. But try horizontal. You got a good strong horizontal back in here. And if you just zoom in on that, that's a really good painting, right in there. Good strong values of shadows and trees. And if you do a little sketch of that, 5-minute sketch, you may like that one better. Deborah. She chose this Botanic Gardens in Arizona. This is the original photograph down in here. She chose to zoom in on a portion of that as her reference, trying different things, zooming in on a detail, just looking for those gems of compositions. I think you're doing this right, Deborah. The painting is just extra. Make sure this composition works. And know why, there's a strong leading line in here, strong dark shape down in here that's just kind of floating. The cactuses are all tying everything together. And I love the values that you have back in here. Those light, little wispy value shapes. If your photograph has this scene back in here, right in here, watch that tangent. You got the hill coming up, and then a little cactus coming right down. That's a tangent. that you want to avoid. Just be careful on that. Okay, Deborah. Adriana. Beautiful photograph here, Adriana. This is beautiful light too. And I love the composition that you have in here. This is a beautiful seed composition. Treatment of the light, medium values, and darks are really well done. I love the leading lines of these flowers naturally coming in. I would watch the safe shape making back in here. This is okay back in here, but I like how this tree kind of tails off up at the very top. So I would have just taken that right up off like here. And that'll help us focus in on beautiful
Thank you, Steve.
flowers.
So extend the tree all the way to the top.
Yes. I would keep it cool. Don't warm it up just because the photo is warm up in here. We're going to be talking temperature next month, but keep it cool because it's back there. It's in the background. And then watch the sharp edges back in here, from that light green to the dark green. But you have enough leverage of detail back in here, down in here, to really hold our interest.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful, beautiful painting.
Thank you.
Sue. I picked this one, Sue. I think it has some really good shapes in it. I think your pencil work needs a little more time in shape making. You're drawing almost too much detail right now. You're seeing like the snow tracks from the car, but you're drawing those in. And what you're not seeing is the shape of the shadow of this whole foreground going up into the flowers, into the plants. That's all in shade, so that's all should be, middle value. The light should be really up in the sky and maybe slivers of light that are happening on the ground.
Okay.
And then the darks are going to be in these the pavement and the gate, and then of course the trees. So really look for and this is a note for everybody, really look at your scenes, whether it's photograph or in plein air, not looking at the detail, but looking at the shapes. You want to see shapes first. And that's where the hard part of painting comes in. There's just so many details that you got to really not look at anymore.
Thanks, Steve.
Okay, good. Lana, this is a really good example of
Hi, I'm here.
making good composition as far as patterns.
Yes.
I would have liked to have seen a little more variety of shading. You've got the light areas that you have down in here on the paper. Middle values are just scratched in, and then the dark areas are like my laptop in. And then the dark areas are, clearly defined. Looks like the sketch in the painting and then the final painting. But really look at the gray the middle values that are in this and these they're forming patterns. The light parts are up in the top, the gray, more gray middle values are in the bottom of that painting, because the light's coming from the top down.
I see, maybe.
And I'm not seeing that, you know, I'm seeing more pattern making in the painting.
Put it here. Okay.
I love the way you paint. Keep going.
Thank you.
Adria.
Yes, hello.
Hi, very nice painting. This almost looks, I think this is a nocturne, isn't it?
Yes, it's toward evening going into night, and then it started drizzling. So
Okay.
part of it ended up in the car and the rest at home.
Let me grayscale this thing out. Just so, and let's talk about the values. And this is a note for everybody. Andrea, right?
Yes.
Did it exceptionally well in this. Whenever you have a low key painting, you've got the majority of the painting is darks. The middle values are going to lean toward the darks if you have a low key painting. So the middle values she has here are, you know, if the darks are 10, like you've got 10 values in here, you maybe have a 1 for the light. You've got little islands of 1s here, highlights in the headlights, maybe a 2 or 3. But all the middle values in here are shifted to 6, 7. So she's increased the value in the drama by doing that. So what she did, she shifted that middle value, that 5, that normal 5, and gave us a 6 on the darker edge. Let me do something else here. So if you were to have an equal painting, like all your 5s are 5s, all your darks are dark, it becomes more boring. It becomes less interesting. Versus this, what you did is right. It's a good example of keeping those darks dark. And if it's a low-key painting, those middle values are shifted to the dark. So good job. Undo
Thanks,
that.
Steve.
Cynthia. Great job on this one, Cynthia. I love the experimenting of.
Hi, Steve.
Hi. I love the experimenting you did with the sepia and the black and white and the various almost watercolor-like. Is this watercolor or is this?
No, I like to sketch with the watercolor pencils.
Oh, okay. I love the boat and the people. But you're having fun. You're exploring. You're experimenting. You're zooming in, cropping, eliminating. I love this one down in here. This is a beautiful one. You brought elements together, all for the sake of the composition. I don't care what that photograph looks like. I really want to be enticed and intrigued by these beautiful compositions. So you got some good winners here, Cynthia.
Thank you.
This up.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. No, I was just going to say, I guess I'm struggling with, as I said in my thing, with what to eliminate and what to stay. And on the one with the little boat, I don't think either one of them are quite enough to hold a painting solid. But so that's why I sketched that middle one with just the boat, and then I went back. I just don't see, the house in itself was not enough to hold a painting, and I just didn't feel like the boat was enough. Is it just that I just don't develop the boat enough or the
Yeah.
house enough?
Yeah, I think for this exercise, your main goal is to really define your light shapes, middle value shapes, and the dark shapes in an interesting and pleasing composition. You've done that. You know, you've created this beautiful passage of movement with these interesting lines, and you've kept our interest. Of course, when you go to the painting, you're going to add more detail, but this phase is so important and is often skipped by people that are copyists. They're just out there to copy what they see, and they're not taking that liberty to make the composition the best that they can possibly get.
So once we've sketched, you say go to, when you take that to the canvas, do the same thing.
Do the
Paint
same
in
thing.
shapes.
Exactly. And really, the choices that you make are going to be defined by, you know, the intent, the overall intent of why you're painting this to begin with. And of course, it's those choices that you're making that will really tell the best story that you can tell.
Okay.
But I love this one, just on the balance of this. This is beautifully balanced.
Okay, thank you so much.
I love the little people back in here. It's balancing this big shape over here. Good X and almost like a steel yard design. Good diagonals in here. You saw that big diagonal going right through the house. That's a lot of energy in that. And I love these almost reflections like coming down in here. So great job.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, you did a lot of work on these, Elizabeth. And this one I picked out just for the fact that, and again, I want to see a little more development on these sketches. You know, the value, look at the value is the whitest white is the house. Everything else is going to be darker than that. So if you're looking at just big shapes, the dark of this retaining wall is going to be all in shadow. And really sketch those shapes in there. And
yeah, I think I wasn't probably quite following your brief completely.
Yeah. And then the trees themselves are going to be darker, you know, always darker. You're not drawing the drawing just to draw detail, like fence posts.
Yeah,
windows.
no, yes. I think my problem is I like to draw, so it's
big... Yeah, you had some marvelous drawings, you know, downtown Chicago. Beautiful work. Are you an architect?
No, but I like architecture. It's sort of,
okay.
I'm a physicist by trade. It's sort
of, oh man, okay.
totally different job, you know.
Yeah. Keep going, looking for those shapes, those big shapes. Okay. Mark, good job on this one, Mark. You succeeded. You're trying different things, but you're not taking the shading to that level that I think you should take it to. Good shading in the windows, of course. This is a beautiful window study. That alone is a painting. You know, get that whole side of that building in shadow, the tree in shadow, and it's all about these slivers of light in the background, and then this interruption of the building and the light on this. Take this to the next level, Mark.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, all I paint is trees and water and fish and fishermen, you know, and so I was trying to push myself to do like the side of the pencil sketch of the you know, like I did up on the top left, and it was like I have no idea how this building fits together.
Yeah.
And once I go around the turn, it's going to be a mess. So I was really getting caught up in, all right, so this thing goes around and then go, you know, just to get the perspective right, because I've been noticing people have been painting the cityscapes and they get their architecture down. And I know it's in simple strokes, but they get it down so it's very clear. And I don't have that skill. So that's probably what I was trying to work on here.
And before you put windows in, get the whole shade of that building in a nice middle value. Oh, you know, followed by that.
Yeah. Okay.
On that ground, and then worry about the detail. Even if maybe you don't even need to put windows in. It's the shadows and the shading that's really important.
Okay. Thanks.
Good job, Barbara. I think just everybody needs to look at Barbara's choices of where she's putting her vanishing point. In this upper left-hand corner, on this one, middle left, down in here, middle right, and it's just giving a totally different feeling of every one of these paintings or sketches. With the vanishing point up high, and I know Nancy's going to cover this next week or the week after. You're giving more emphasis to the ground. With the horizon line low, you're going to give more real estate to the trees. Just pay close attention to that. But I love your shading. I think you're seeing the light, medium, and darks shapes. And you know, work on quality of line too. You've got some really good quality of line work here, but I think everybody can improve on quality of line shading.
Okay.
Okay. So
thank you.
Exercise. Robin, I made your sketch bigger because we're not really focusing on the color now, but look at the value of this photograph. The lightest light is in the sky, you know, the sunlight and the beam. Everything else, I want to see simplified. You know, you've got a light patch here, light patches down in here. All of this is in value, you know, 6, maybe 7, dark down in here. It's a silhouette of a tree and then the darkness in this land. In order to get this sky bright, you need this dark, you know. Just pay close attention to values when you're sketching these out, okay? Karen, I chose this one, Karen. You had a good one on, another good one on Facebook. Mainly for the reason I want to talk about this X that appears in this photograph. Every now and then you're gonna run into these X's. Like X marks the spot. It's a natural point for your focal point for the eye to go to. I like your light, medium, and darks. But again, like Robin's, if you have these little light spots, it's confusing. Really pay attention to the light in the sky. Everything else is middle value. Just cover this in middle value. maybe except the little cut lines of the logs are a little lighter, even if you have that detail. And then everything else is dark. So don't leave these light patches down in here. It's just going to confuse you. And again, watch the X's. If you don't want it to be there, your center of interest, you're going to be fighting that shape. I call that the big W. If you've seen the Mad World, it's a great movie. Watch these big X's. Shannon, you had a number of good ones up there, Shannon. This one I picked for a reason I want to talk about. But you're nailing this, and I love that you're working on this gray paper, brown paper. It's giving you already the middle value. I learned this from Dawn Whitelaw. She actually paints in color on this brown paper, and so Shannon only really needs the light value and the dark value, because she already has the middle value, and that's a good technique to use if you really like doing these sketches. Good. This is a really difficult subject to paint, and I think you nailed it well. The thing to watch for is, and you didn't do that on the photograph, because I think your main focal point is going to be down here in the warmth of this tree up against the coolness of that water, is the darkness of these branches up in here. The high contrast of that dark branch up against that white light water is a huge contrast, and you don't have that here, which is good, because I think the eye wants to be down in here. And this is I think one of your quick, did you do this one, the big one first, and then this one?
The big one first, yeah, and then I was like trying to simplify and figure out what are the things it's trying to say. The things it's trying to say, I think, the kind of dancing branches and the light around them.
Yeah, and doing a thumbnail of a thumbnail, or even a thumbnail, does exactly that. You're eliminating the detail in this big one. Going smaller, you're just creating this shorthand view of version of this viewpoint, and it's just breaking it down even more to that primitive shape of what that composition ultimately is. And here, this is probably could be either group mass, scattered masses, or pattern. And Linda, beautiful job here, Linda. I love the composition on this one. I love your sepia work. It's really quite stunning. Look at how simple this composition is. It's kind of a reverse steel yard. There's the shape here and a little shape over here, kind of supporting and balancing that out. Beautiful work.
Thank you, Steve. Which one works the best?
I like this one.
Okay.
Yeah. But I like the light that you have back in here and behind this bridge. All of these are really intriguing. But this is a beautiful example of simplification. You're jumping ahead, 3 weeks, or 3 months, but this is the example I want to talk about as far as simplification.
Oh, okay.
You have this complex photo. You're seeing all this detail, all the swamp weeds in the pond, and you chose not to put it in there because this is what you really wanted to really hit on. That little bridge, a few people, and it's done. But it's so strong. It just reads really well.
Is it okay that I kind of toward the left of that one went a little abstract, mix that with the other? Do they fit together or does it
I
not?
think they do.
Okay.
I like the open, like I said, I like the openness back in here behind the bridge, but this has more mystery. It's just a really good way of painting.
And to the left of that one that you're on, to the right, I'm sorry, the big one. Yeah. The left side of it, does that work okay? Yeah, where I went more abstract.
I like it. It's giving us a variety of shapes to look at. You know, it's not all willow tree.
Okay.
I think there's a different tree back in here. You might want to, instead of going up and over to the left, think about coming back this way, leading the eye back into the here.
Mm-hmm.
But you've given us enough big shapes to really accept this as almost a completed painting. I don't think you need to do much more.
Okay.
You could try, doing it in, like in color, just subdued. Let this dry and then throw in some glazes if you wanted to do that. But I think it's a standalone piece right there.
Great. Thanks so much, Steve.
Okay, we got 3 minutes left. That concludes the demo. Any questions so far? You can unmute all yourselves if you want. If you have any
You did it,
questions.
Steve. You did it. You did it. In an hour, you did it.
Well, I want to go over next month's assignment, we're going to focus in on, and if you don't feel like you want to go forward to the next assignment next month, if you want to stick with this selection, composition, design, if you feel like you want to just do it. Like I said, 80% of that investment in design and composition is going to pay huge dividends down the road. If all you do is these next 4 months is just composition and design, I'm cool with that. But I want to bring you guys to another element, which is forms, planes, and shapes. And a book I am currently reading is Nathan Folks' How to Paint Landscapes Quickly and Beautifully. It's a beautiful book. I bought it after seeing that one video I posted about a month ago of him doing like a 14, 17 minute kind of demo on color. I'll look for that. I'll repost it in our group site again for you guys to look at. But I went and bought his book. I'm reading it. It's full of really good stuff. Even though it's watercolor and gouache, there's, for oil painters, for pastelists, there's really good value in this. We're going to go into, I really want you guys to understand the light sources that we have as artists. The sun is the warm light in the sky. The blue sky is that blue light source. that affects all the shadows. I have angle of incident. You're out here painting in the landscape or painting from a photograph. If you're seeing different shifts of color in the shadow from close-up view from where you are here to far away, the angle of incident is really reflecting the dark blue sky above you versus the lighter blue sky on the horizon. Also, the further you go out, the further you're looking out, the grayer and the bluer those shapes become. The value ranges also diminish. If you want to really capture that atmospheric effect, things get grayer and grayer. Up close, objects are going to be in the value range of 1 to 10. Middle range, that middle ground is going to be values of 3 to 7. And then off in the distance, you're operating in between 5 and 5.5 value. Very slim value ranges. Likewise, color temperature. You're operating in the full spectrum of color in the foreground. In the middle ground, the yellow starts dropping out right about here. You're operating in those reds and purples. And then right here, the red drops out, and all you're operating in is in the blue, in the blues and grays. Okay. Look for those atmospheric perspectives, the linear perspectives, and the overlapping shapes. I'll post this as a graphic up on the Facebook site. I'll also post this page as well. It's mainly focusing in on when you're painting shapes in the light, let those shapes be in the light. If you're painting shapes in the dark, let those shapes be in the dark. And don't mix your light shapes in the dark and the dark shapes in the light. Don't mix up the two. We'll go more into this on Facebook. I did mention his book. If you're in the market for a good book to buy for the holidays for yourself, again, this would be the one. He talks about, this is a graphic he has in the book. I'll post this up on Facebook with credits to him. But he really has a good explanation on the different parts of light and shadow. Highlights, halftones, terminator, where the light falls off and stops. Core shadow, reflected light, atmospheric light. Look at the blue on that lollipop tree. And the warmth down in here, with the sun reflecting off the concrete, bouncing up, warming up the underneath side of that tree. Here's the atmospheric light, the angle of incident that I showed first.
What does occlusion shadow mean? The shadow closest?
It's the dark shadow that's closest to the object, right in here.
That's the one that have a little more warmth in it, right?
Yes. Well, the warmth and the shadows are really from the reflected light bouncing off the warm earth or warm object here, bouncing up into the underneath part of this building here. So when you go to paint objects, hard shapes like this, hard boulders, you're going to see that warmth in reflected light. You're going to see the atmospheric light reflecting the coolness of that shadow side in certain areas. Here's a nice painting. Look at the grayness back in here. And then here's another one. I love this painting. It just has everything about it. Good clustering that he's got going. The coolness of the mountains, the purples and the blues back in the distance, the grays, and then he's really hitting hard the warmth of those rocks. So keep your eye out for color, form, and shape. And it's really all about temperature. I wrote an earlier post today about, or it was 2 days ago, I think it was, about color and temperature. You know, make color your friend, but fall in love with temperature. Really look for those temperature shifts to define your forms and shapes. Because once you get this, man, your ability to mix those colors and apply it to those shapes and forms are really going to make those paintings read well. So, all right, I think that's it. 6 minutes to spare. Well, no, 6
Question.
minutes over.
I have a question. Whoops.
Yes.
Do we keep working on the same, should we keep working on the same painting? You know what I mean? So we go through okay.
Yes, I would keep working on the same paintings. If you want to play a little bit more with the sketches, just to work out those compositions, I don't want you to lose that. I want you to, you know, keep going with those choices, the selection of composition and design. Make sure those paintings are super strong. Then apply the color and the temperatures to those different forms and shapes within your landscapes. You're not painting trees, you're not painting buildings, you're painting shapes and forms. Okay, and planes. Those planes are either accepting light from the sun or accepting shadow from the sky. And there's all this different reflected light. So there's a few painting photographs in there that had some good lighting, good reflected lighting. That one porch scene had some good reflected lighting in there. But really look for that this month. And again, I'll post a few more paintings as we go up on those Facebook. Okay.
Yes, thank you,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Really helpful.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah.
You
You
too.
too. Stay safe, everybody.
Stay inside, stay warm,
Stay inside.
and paint.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care.
All right. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.